Hi friends, welcome to just kind of a recap of the last Disney Cruise Line vlog series that we just posted. If you are new here, hello, my name is Ivy. I sailed with my fiance AJ and we were on the 10-night cruise from Vancouver to Hawaii. Now, this was a very special trip. We booked it very last minute. We were supposed to go to Paris, and for a slew of reasons, we had to adjust our travel plans. And when looking around, we found that this cruise was available. So we booked flights to Vancouver, booked the cruise, stayed a couple of nights in Vancouver, which we really loved sailing out of Vancouver. This is our second time sailing out of Vancouver, and I think I could just spend so much more time in that city, and I'm super excited to get the opportunity to go back at some point. But our Vancouver video made me happy reliving those moments because I did enjoy Vancouver so much. So if you get a chance to sail out of Vancouver, whether you're going to Hawaii or you're going to Alaska, it is a really fun city. I'll go ahead and drop a link down below of our adventures throughout the entire cruise series, but especially the Vancouver video. I will leave all of those down below. So I had posted on the community tab as well as my Instagram what questions you guys had. And I collected some questions along the way in the comments of all of the videos. So I kind of compiled this list of things that you all have asked. So the first was just about the Disney Wonder itself. Now, we've been really lucky. This was our, I believe, 4th trip on the Wonder, so it felt very comfortable. Everything was familiar. We knew some of the cast members that were on the ship. That was really fun. It was just kind of fun to feel like we were at home. So some of my favorite things to do on the Wonder, honestly, is to just go to the lounges. You will find some really special, amazing cast members at all of the lounges and bars. And I don't drink, AJ does, so he enjoys going and getting a nice cocktail. And we just go and hang out and get to know people. So we really love going to all of the bars and lounges on the ship. We also, as you can tell, really love trivia. Now, I'm awful at trivia, but it's something that AJ really loves. So we do a lot of trivia when we're on the ship. I went to the spa a couple of times, but I don't love the spa on the Wonder. I really love the spa on the Dream and Fantasy class the best. They just have a much larger rainforest room. They have the indoor-outdoor space with the 2 jacuzzis. It's so much larger that we were trying to decide, were we going to spend money on the rainforest room this cruise? And I've kind of just figured, you know, let's not spend the money on it on this cruise. We'll save it for other things. And I felt that way for a couple of reasons. One, the rainforest room on the Wonder is relatively small, and I was worried with 5 sea days in a row. I was just really worried it would feel very busy. It may not have been the case, but that was just kind of my perception going into it. I just didn't really want to spend that to then just feel like it was crowded, because there's only 5 loungers in the Wonder's rainforest room. So we didn't do that. But other things that we really love on the Wonder, like from our series, we really just hung out and played a lot of cards and ate on the top decks. That was just one of the appeals of doing a cruise, was just the time to have downtime and disconnect and just spend some time together. So I know that there's a lot of things to do on the ship. We did plenty of activities, but I think one of the things that makes cruising so unique is also the opportunity to completely disconnect and just spend time with the people you're with. Was 10 nights too long? I'm gonna say yes and no. So when we first got on the ship, I was like, okay, we have 5 nights at sea. That's 6 days like on the ship before we touch land. And that just seemed like a very long time. The longest I had ever gone before was 2 nights. That was on a 7-night sailing on the Fantasy. And once we got to night 3, I was like, okay, like we could touch land now. And I think that was for a couple reasons. I think it was, one, I hadn't ever gone that long being at sea before, but also the seas were pretty rocky and the ship was moving and I wasn't feeling great. So I was ready for sturdy land to feel a little bit better. But really once we got over that 3rd day, the seas were calmer. We weren't going as fast and I was able to just enjoy myself a little bit more. I think having the 5 nights on the front end at sea, followed by 5 nights going to islands, I didn't love that at the end. I was really relaxed, like I enjoyed the 5 days. And then once we got to Hawaii, it was back to back to back ports. Some of the days were really long, some of the days we were doing activities, and it just made me feel really tired every day. Like I honestly don't know how the people that sail Europe do some of those sailings, because all of those back-to-back port days with going on long excursions, like, it sounds bananas. So that was one thing. Once we were done, AJ and I were kind of chatting about it, and I was like, you know, I wish there was a way. I understand the islands are very close. You don't need time to get to each island, but I wish that there was a way that somehow you were able to break it up, like maybe 2 days, then 1 sea day, then 2 more islands, then you disembark, or just something to have a break in there would have been really nice. I know we were really excited to watch the sunrise, go into port, so we were waking up really early, and that was also making us really tired at night. So finally, by the time we got to the last port, we were like, no sunrises for us. We were done at that point. So that doesn't necessarily answer the question if 10 nights is too long or not. A lot of people asked if there was enough to do, and there was so much to do. So much so that I did not get to do everything that I wanted to do. And I'm pretty disappointed in myself in some of those things. One of them being character photos. That's so unlike me to not run around the ship and get in line for characters, especially when there's unique costumes involved. And I just kind of had the mentality, I was just enjoying, like I said, kind of that one-on-one time that AJ and I were having, that I didn't want to just stop what we were doing to go seek characters, because I had the mentality of, oh, we have so much more time. I'll just do that later. Well, you can only say that so many days in a row before there's just no more later and there's no more time. So I didn't get the group photo when they're all in their nautical gear. I didn't get individual photos with any of them in their Hawaiian gear. I got Donald and Daisy together, but the rest of them we didn't get. I didn't feel the need to get them in their nautical individually, because we've done that a couple of times, and we didn't dress up for formal night. So I was fine not getting formal night photos. But, you know, there definitely was opportunity to do even more than we did. And there were some days where I chose to take a 2-hour nap. And all while I was sleeping, there were different activities going on. So you do kind of have to pick and choose some things, what activities you're going to do, what characters you're going to see, what meals are you going to eat in the dining room. Like, it all contributes to the overall experience, and you just can't do everything. Some of the must-dos for me, although I wish that I had categorized some of those character photos in must-dos, the other things that I really wanted to do were the things that related to the cultural ambassadors that were on board. So we did the Polynesian storytelling. We did ukulele lessons twice, which was super fun. I went once by myself, once with AJ. They did the hula lessons, which were really fun. So I wanted to do those things. And there were a couple other chats about going to the islands and learning a little bit more about the culture. And that was important to me to participate in those things, especially since we were going to go visit those islands. So those are probably the things that for me were more of the non-negotiable, like wanted to make sure that I was able to do. Everything else was more of a, if it fits in the schedule, that's great. Like, I love going to Anyone Can Cook. It's super fun. It's nice to chat with the chef. You get a nice little nosh. But it wasn't a make or break, but I was glad that we were able to work those things into our schedule. I would say AJ's non-negotiable would be 90s music trivia, which is why we went twice. It's the one that we have the most fun at together, and so I understand why he likes that one a lot. when we get into kind of breaking down what we did on each island, AJ and I chose not to do excursions through Disney. We did this for a couple reasons, not because excursions are bad in any way. There's been plenty of other cruises where we've done excursions through Disney. I think it's more of a familiarity of the islands and being somewhere where we spoke the language, we could drive the cars. We had been to Maui before, so we were able to get off the island and just feel very comfortable. You know, all of our apps worked and we didn't have to take a taxi or use Google Translate or any of those things like you potentially would in other parts of the world. We opted every cruise port, we rented a car, we took an Uber to and from the airport, except Maui, we did take a taxi back to the port, but otherwise we took Ubers everywhere, super easy. They averaged about $9 to $15 each way. And our rental cars were shockingly cheap, which I wasn't expecting them being as cheap as they were. But one thing that I love to do is when I rent a car, I constantly check back leading up until the weeks that we go. And it was like every couple of days, it would be down a couple more dollars. And I would just keep checking. And some of our rates got pretty low. Like we were close to around 30 some odd dollars a day for some of the islands. So what I'll do here, kind of like down in this area, I'll do a total breakdown of each day by island and what we spent in transportation, what we spent in parking, if there was any activity fee, so like going up to Haleakala and going into Volcanoes National Park, or just any other parking fees. And then I will also include if there was a Disney cruise excursion that aligned with that activity and how much that excursion cost. So on the island of Hilo, we spent the majority of our time going up to Volcanoes National Park. We rented a car, so we took an Uber to the airport, rented a car through Hertz, which we rented just a regular two-door economy car, and they ended up giving us a convertible Mustang, so that was nice. After gas, the entrance fee into the state park, and another Uber, we spent about $129 on all of the expenses on Hilo, minus anything that we purchased as far as souvenirs and food. We spent about 7 hours on the island. We did a couple extra things like go out to eat, go down to the farmer's market, drive around a bit before returning the car. The comparable port adventure would be the trip to Volcanoes National Park Express. It's listed at about 4.5 to 5 hours, and it's $155 per adult. Reading the description, it seems like they did all of the same things that we did up at Volcanoes and went to all of the same spots that we did. So they didn't do anything extra. It doesn't look like it lists the lava tubes or anything like that. So this would have been a little over $300 for myself and AJ to book the port adventure, and we really enjoyed having our time kind of in our own hands. Now, Honolulu, like I've said before, Honolulu was our food tour day mostly, but again, we rented a car through Hertz, we Ubered to the airport, paid for some gas. We had a lot more parking fees in Honolulu because of just the density of Waikiki and the places we were going, and then an Uber to return the car. Total, we spent $130. Again, this doesn't include food or souvenirs, but we spent 9.5 hours on the island. Based on what we did, it didn't look like there was a one-to-one shore excursion. The closest thing is if you wanted to do an adventurous hike, there was the hike to Diamond Head. It's listed at 4 to 4.5 hours and $203 per adult. Again, this is just to Diamond Head, hiking, and going back to port. This doesn't include any shopping or eating, anything extra, just the hike. On the island of Kauai, we had less fees. We just had our Uber, our rental car, gas, and our Uber again. And we spent about 5.5 hours on the island. This is the day that we went to the Kauai Coffee Company. On this island, we spent about $94 on all of our expenses, and we were on the island for 5.5 hours total. Now, there wasn't, again, a specific excursion that aligned with just going to Kauai Coffee Company. There was something that included Kauai Coffee Company and the Koloa Rum Company. This was 4.5 to 5 hours on the island and $269 per adult. Now on the island of Maui, I feel like we spent all day on the island. We spent about 9 hours there. We rented our car, we had our Uber and taxi this time. Gas, there was definitely more gas involved going to the top of Haleakala, and we had a bigger SUV at this port. We had the entrance fee into Haleakala, and then everything else we did was just food or going around to other parts of the island that we really enjoyed. So total, it was $120. The port that would align with this would be the spectacular Haleakala. This was $145 per adult and 4.5 to 5 hours. So none of the cruise ports that I included had any shopping or food listed, so that's also why I didn't include any of our food prices in any of our breakdowns. And there is something to be said to have a tour guide go with you and explain all of the things that are happening. So I'm not discounting that at all. I'm just want to provide comparison of cost, and whatever decision you make for yourself, like that's just whatever the right decision is. So for us on these islands, we felt very comfortable. We enjoyed doing some research as to what we wanted to do. We asked a lot of people their opinions. That's how we ended up at Manoa Falls instead of going to Diamond Head. So we definitely did a lot of that research, and that's part of the fun for us too. Like, if you couldn't tell, I'm a big planner. So planning all of that was really fun, and also just kind of being in control of our own destiny for the day was also really enjoyable. We were able to get on and off the ship at whatever time we wanted. We wanted to get going pretty early on the day we were in Hilo because our port time was so much shorter. So Hilo, we had an all aboard time. I want to say it was around 4:30. And then we went to Honolulu, which was crazy late, like 10 or 11. Then we went to Kauai, which was earlier, or maybe around 4:30. And then back to Maui, which I think was 11 p.m. So the times just really depended on how far we had to go. And so some of the days were just shorter than others, so there were things that we wanted to get done in that amount of time. I did feel like we had enough time on each island, but you could always use more time. So I'm happy with the experience that we did up in Hilo, but I wish that we were actually there for another day. I don't think spending, like if our all aboard time was 8 p.m., I don't think it would have made that big of a difference in the extra things that we would have been able to do. We really needed a good block of time to do some more of that exploring that I kind of want to do now that we've been there. Someone did ask me if there was an excursion that went to Aulani. Now, I'm not positive if there was one on our cruise because I heard a lot of people went to Aulani. However, I don't see one listed on the Port Adventures website, so I'm not sure how much it cost, and you have to be a guest staying at Aulani to get the wristbands to access all the pools and things, so I'm not sure what the benefit of going to Aulani is other than being on the grounds, eating, maybe doing some shopping, but you could use the ocean, but you wouldn't be able to use the pools or the lazy river if it's not offered in a shore excursion. I would recommend, whether it's this cruise you're booking or any cruise you're booking, you can go on Disney Cruise Line and look up their list of excursions. So it will tell you what you do, what's offered, how much it costs, and it gives you just kind of that overview. Now, when it's actually time to book your cruise and book the excursions, there might be some discrepancies in there because they work with third-party companies, so they usually keep the website pretty up to date, but there could be the potential that what you were looking at might not be offered for your specific cruise. So I just kind of want to give that blanket disclaimer. So that's kind of the overall of our cruise. There were a couple other small questions here and there, like things that I really make sure to pack. And I think the only thing that's like a make or break to pack on a cruise for me is a cup. I feel like I should have something like more grand to say than that. But having something to either keep yourself hydrated or drink your coffee out of or whatever that might look like, because the cups they give you at the drink stations are so small. And it's nice to just walk around the ship and have something to drink. So that's always something that I throw in my cruise bag. Otherwise, It depends on the cruise. It depends on where you're going. I know a lot of people say you must have a lanyard, but I've had some cruises where I don't even feel like wearing my lanyard, and I just put my key to the world card in whatever I'm carrying around at the time, or sometimes like just even in the back of my cell phone. So I don't really think that there's things that you have to bring with you. There were some special things that happened on the cruise because we were going to Hawaii. So someone asked if the cruise had Dole Whips, and not only does the cruise have Dole Whips, but there was a day where we were at sea and they had full pineapples that they were coring out and making drinks in, and then you could have your drink in a full pineapple. This was on our last day at sea, and AJ and I were on our way to Paolo when we saw this, and we never checked back, actually. They must have been done by the time we were done with our brunch, but it looked like it was super fun, super cool. It would have been just something nice to have, and you don't always get that on the cruise line, so I think those things are really special. Any advice that I would give to whether it's a first-time cruiser or maybe you're booking this cruise specifically, I overpacked a lot on cruises. So I think pack what you think you're going to want, and then unpack and take things out, and then repack. I always end up with so many more clothes than I think I am going to need. This cruise was a lot better. I did a lot better at streamlining what I was packing. I've also just kind of gotten better at streamlining items that I have, so I can just mix and match what I'm wearing a little bit more than taking all these different outfits. So it's just so much easier to travel when you don't have as much stuff. And there's not a ton of room in the staterooms. We've never had a problem with storage. Obviously, our rooms are just the two of us. I can't imagine having a room with 4 people, whether adults or kids. So for us, the rooms are comfortable for 2, has enough storage, has enough space, so I can say that. If you are planning your cruise, that's the Vancouver to Hawaii or vice versa, I would say I wasn't anticipating the seas out of Vancouver to be as rocky as they were for me. I'm pretty sensitive to motion, so I do take Dramamine when I'm on a cruise ship. Any of the cruises I've ever been on, I take it. For me, I feel like I would just rather take it and feel good and like know I'm going to feel good than wait until I feel bad and then take it. So I always take the non-drowsy Dramamine with me. Other things, I don't think that there was anything that I wasn't expecting that happened on this cruise necessarily. The days were very long and I used a lot of sunscreen. And packing bug spray was a good call. They do sell bug spray on the ship, but if you're going to do any hiking in any of the tropical areas, having bug spray with you is key. So I'm glad that I had that. And I don't think that I have any like crazy groundbreaking advice. I think I feel that way because you'll have people that have videos or whether it's vlogs or blogs, and they say like the 5 things you must have or the 5 things you must do. I don't ever feel that way because we are all different people. We all like different things. We all value different things. So I just am really here to share our experience, give the tips of things that we went through, the things that I liked or didn't like, and then maybe that can help you plan whether it's your next Disney cruise or the specific Hawaiian cruise. I think that's my overall arching goal, is to just kind of share more so you can make better decisions as to what's best going to fit you. As you can tell, even from some of our videos in the dining room, AJ and I have vastly different things that we like to eat, and we're probably not the same either, you know? So I think take everything you see on the internet like that are like the 5 must-haves with a grain of salt, because we're all different people. A few last things I thought of since filming this. I wanted to touch on having an ocean view room instead of a veranda. While I did miss sitting outside, I don't feel like this cruise was necessary to have a veranda, especially since the first 2 or 3 days were really cold outside. And once we were at the islands, I mean, we were getting in our room really late. So I would definitely save the money and stick with an ocean view. The next thing is we had late dining, and late dining is already late. It's at 8:15 p.m., but you're progressively adjusting in time as you kind of go through different time zones. So by the time we were in Hawaii, our dining time was at what would typically be 11:15 p.m. in my local time zone. So we stopped going to the dining room as much towards the end of our cruise because it was just so late. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on was shopping. There was no Hawaii specific merch for my cruise. Hopefully that's something that changes in the future. I mean, I'm hoping the cruises coming up that are going to Hawaii, hopefully you get some really great merch, but I was really disappointed to not see anything Hawaii specific. Now they did bring in stuff from Aulani, but when you were already going to Aulani after the trip, it didn't seem that special. So really bummed about the shopping experience. My last question that I had was, would I do it again? And again, I don't have a very strong answer because I would 100% do it again. However, there are so many other places in the world that I would like to see and go that I probably wouldn't spend the money on this cruise again. We did combat some of the pricing by bringing on our own cold brew, which was really nice to have. I think if I'm at a port where I can get to a grocery store and bring things on board, I would 100% do that again. Also, bringing our own coffee creamer has been a game changer. This is the second cruise that we've done that, and that's been huge. I really, really love doing that. I think, going to the islands, we didn't spend a ton of money each day, and every day was so fun. And we did a lot of things that we love and are true to us. I was laughing because we spent our whole day in Honolulu. Like, while we did like one small hike, we spent the rest of the day eating, but like, to be honest, eating some of the local classic fare of Honolulu is like totally a thing that AJ and I love to do. So we were very true to ourselves and the things that we liked at each port. And I think that's what made this trip so fun and also made it feel so special. While we were experiencing some new things, we did some things that were really familiar, and we did a lot of things that were true to us as individuals and us as a couple that likes to travel together. So I hope the cruise vlog will help any of you that are planning your trips. If you have any additional comments, I'm happy to answer any questions down below, but that's gonna be it for our cruise line vlog. I am in the middle of editing our videos at Aulani, so keep an eye up for those. We were there for 2 nights, so it was a short trip. I'm excited to go back to Aulani eventually. I think Aulani is very special. I'd probably go back to Aulani much sooner than I would do this specific cruise sailing again. So more to come on that. So until next time, we'll see you later.